not going to get a second chance in the game.
Welcome. I'm Greg Youngblood, Defense Coordinator, Olivet Nazarene University. I'm excited to share with you some thoughts today on our defense. I'll just jump right in, kind of go through our base defense. We are a 4-2-5 basic concept. We probably do a lot of things similar to some people, and maybe we do some things different. Hopefully you get some ideas about what we do today and help your program. So to start with, I'll just start with a two-back set, and go through how we line up. All right, so we're seeing a lot of this now, okay? A back offset, all right, something like that, okay? 20 personnel, two backs, no tight ends. So the first thing we do is, probably like a lot of people, we're going to have our defense based on the strength of the offensive formation. We go off the pass strength, okay? Back in the old day when I started, it was always off the tight end, all right? Now, with as much spread and all that, it's a numbers game, okay? So we're going to put our overhang, our spur, all right? We're going to put him to number side. So we get a right call because we got obviously 2 to 1 over here. So we got the pass strength, so we're going to be right. So our spur, he's going to line up, and we've started apexing the tackle number 2 receiver, all right? We've actually adjusted that a little bit with RPOs and things like that. We've actually gotten him a little wider now, so he's 1 yard inside number 2. We start him at 5 yards of depth, but we tell him the wider he goes, the deeper he can get. So he'll usually maybe get up to 6 yards on a wide split number 2, but if it's a normal split in here, he'd be at 5 yards. All right, he's going to have his inside foot up staggered, all right, squared shoulders, taking his punch step, we call it, with his inside foot. He's obviously a run-first guy, all right, but he's covering up number 2. So the spur is always going to go to the call side. Our falcon, all right, is going to be our free safety, all right, but we're a two-high scheme. He's going to play 1 by 10 to 12 off number 2 as well, all right. We've got our field corner. We play more press. We've had the off stuff. We got into more press this year. But we have a field corner. I'll talk about that later. We are flip-flopping field and boundary personnel. I think there's a lot of advantages to that, but they're always going to travel together, all right. Now, one thing we probably do different than a lot of people, when they call their defense, they put the 3 technique to the call side, all right. We actually put our shade and our 5 to the call side. So when we say right, the shade and the 5 technique, the end, they go to the call side. They're going to travel with the spur, the falcon, the corner, and our Mike linebacker, okay? So right now, these 6 guys, they're always going to be together in a tandem. And I really like that. They're going to see the same defensive structures. They're going to be working together on the same blocking schemes. The Mike's going to always be that B-gap bubble player, and he's not going to have to worry about other looks that he might see. They can be really good at what they're doing. Plus, we can personnel a little bit. Maybe more of a plugger linebacker here, where when we get to our weak side linebacker, he can be more of a runner because he's protected. Obviously, our spur is that 3-4 outside linebacker that would be more of a hybrid guy who's a linebacker, but he's got to play some curl flat, even play some man now. We're doing that more. And then our field safety is more of a free safety, where our boundary safety we'll talk about, he's probably a little more of a strong safety type. All right, so that's how we'll line up the strong side. So right. Then obviously away from this call side is going to be our personnel, our tackle, our 3 technique. All right, he's always going to go away from the call. Our rush end, we can play him a little bit looser, okay, off of 5 technique. And our whip linebacker, all right. And our whip and our Mike both play 30s, right, outside leg of the guard, 4 to 5 yards deep. We tell them toes at 4. And obviously from game plan standpoint, we can deepen them up if we need to get over top a little more. But we like them toes at 4 to start. All right, so then again, this is our weak side personnel, call side personnel, okay, away from the call personnel. Now we have our boundary corner, all right, and our bandit, okay, that are on the away from the call side. So that's our basic defensive structure based on a right call. Obviously, we're a gap control defense, right? So the rush in always knows that he's a C-gap player. Tackle always knows he's a B-gap player. The whip's going to be an A-gap player. Our shade knows an A-gap player. Mike's a B-gap player, okay, C-gap player. Force player, always our force player, all right? And then we'll talk about coverage stuff here. On the weak side, we know because we have our overhang, our extra guy over here, we know our run support's going to come from one of these 2, right? We're going to be in corner or cloud support, or we're going to be in sky support, safety support, because we don't have an edge setter here. It's going to be one of those 2. Allow these guys to play in the box, scrape inside out to the football, all right, and play that way. So that's our basic set. Now, how we'll call the coverage, right? So this would be a strong call for us, right? We're putting the personnel to the strong side. Now, if I wanted to call field, right? No matter how they line up, I could put these guys to the field, even if they put twins in the boundary. And obviously, sometimes that means we have to make other adjustments. But I can put the shade 5 wherever I want. I can call tight, right? So if there was a tight end in the game, I could put these guys, these 6 guys to the tight end. I can call split, put them away from the tight end, all right? I can call bench, put them to the boundary, okay? I can call back. If we have a one-back team and we want to put our shade 5 to the backside, I can call away, which puts them away from the back, okay? So just like teams that move the 3 technique around always put the 3 technique where they want them, by game plan, we'll do the same thing. We just think of it a little differently. We're putting the shade 5 where we want, and then we know the 3 techniques away from that, all right? But we can get to the same look as a team that calls it that way. We just got to probably call it opposite than they would. But that's how we would start. This is a strong call. We would line up. Now, coverage-wise, we're obviously a split field coverage, right? We've got one coverage for this side, and we've got one coverage for this side because schematically, there's 2 different looks here we're given based on who we're seeing. Usually, this is going to be a 3-on-2 side, and this is going to be a 2-on-1 side, and we'll get to spread stuff here in a minute. All right, so when we call it, so I could call this strong because that's where we lined up. That's how we tell everybody strong. Right call tells everybody where to go. All right, strong right. And then I'll call the coverage. So for us, we give a color. All right, we give a color for the call side. All right, and that's going to tell them what coverage to play. Okay, so we give a color for this side. Okay, blue. All right, so blue is our read cover 2. All right, quarters coverage, read cover 2. A lot of people call it different names. But basically, we're keying off number 2 receiver like most people, all right? We know if number 2 goes vertical, the safety's got him, all right? How we define vertical is anything over linebacker depth, all right? So if he cuts underneath that linebacker, he's not ours, all right? Once he goes over the top of that linebacker, all right, then he becomes ours. Even if he runs that dig or that runs that, well, the out we'll talk about, that's different because we're reading it with the corner. But anything inside over linebacker depth, we're going to drive on. That's our guy. All right, so we got to define what vertical means, all right? Corner is doing the same thing, all right? Now, when we go blue and it's a read cover 2, we will bail, all right? We're going to start and press because we're manning a lot, but we know it's blue, okay? We got to be able to read 2, be able to adjust to that, so we can't get caught up on number 1. So we're going to be squared up, obviously, in our press technique. We're going to pivot and bail, opening to the inside so we can see what's going on, but we've got to have our eyes on 2, key number 2, all right? So we know in our read cover 2, all right, anything to the flat by number 2 is the corners. So as soon as we see 2 go out, we know that's going to be ours. Safety, as soon as he sees 2 to the flat, he's looking to pick up 1. Okay, so that's true of a lot of people are doing. That's how we pick it up. Even though the corner's got the flat and got 2 to the flat, we won't have him jump it right away, right? We read that, play that midpoint technique. So as a corner, all right, I'm coming off, I'm bailing. I see 2 out, I'm going to freeze. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking to midpoint the high-low, right? And I'm going to read the quarterback's eyes. If he's got his shoulders up and he's looking to hit that deep route, then I can be ready to play underneath that, knowing I got the safety over the top. If his shoulders are flat and he's looking to throw that flat one there, that short route, then he's ready to drive, okay? And obviously as these guys get better at it, they can be pretty good at that. We know they may complete in the flat, but we're going to make the tackle. As he gets good at it, we'll be breaking that ball up, all right? But early on, we're okay if they make the tackle and they don't necessarily break that up, all right? We have a cloud or hard corner cover 2 we can play if we want that. But in this, we want them to not give them the deep one, rally to the short. It's more of a deep to short. So even though we're flat, we're midpointing it and reading the quarterback and using our instincts. So that's how we'll pick that up. Now, a lot of people on this, I know, will give a certain distance for number 2, right? They're going to say, if he's 5 yards, and under going out, boom, I'll take him and he'll get over the top. Once he's past 5, well, then we just lock on man, all right? Or some will give a little deeper, like 10 yards. 10-yard rule, under 10, he comes out the flat, I'll come off, and he'll come, after 10, he's ours man to man. And I've played with all that. I've done it. I know some really good teams and coaches that do it. Nothing wrong with it. I've gotten to the point where I've said, you know what, I don't want that guy coming off the sideline. I mean, we blew a coverage, and coach, I thought he was at 8 yards, and the safety's like, well, I thought he was at 10. And in the heat of a game, I'm asking those guys to know exactly what yardage he's breaking, and if it's close, we're going to have to rely on that. I think that's I don't like that, them thinking and having to think about that too much. I toyed with to me, then you got to go one way or the other. You either got to go the really short ones, because if you keep it under 5, you're just basically breaking on bubbles and quick outs. That's pretty easy. You can do that. But then most everything turns into man, all right? And that's okay. All right, and people do that. I know people playing this, they're playing straight man, have no problem with that. But I've never been a huge only man guy, and I feel like if I'm going to play man, let's play man. If I want to play my read too, I would rather be able to read those routes and come off. So I go the other extreme, which says 2 out forever, basically, right? Any deep route, he goes out. Once he goes out, we're coming off, all right? So that's how we practice it and teach it. Obviously, there can be, issues with that too. Nothing's ever perfect. What the route early on we installed this, it would get us would be they would run a post and they'd run a really deep out, like 12 yards or something, okay? So, it's not a whole lot different than the scissors route. We know these are quarter beaters types routes and things like that. So that was tricky for us for a while, all right? And we had to rep it, but once we got it, we were pretty good at it, all right? So we know we're bailing. All right, initially we're running with one because we see 2 going vertical. The key is a safety, he's got to get depth because he knows that he's got 2 vertical, but he knows that they might have to switch this off. Here's the thing though, our spur, and I didn't get into this earlier, his job, he's going to step up for run. Once he sees it's pass, he's looking to play what we call wall technique. All right, so wall technique means he's cutting number 2 off anything inside. All right, he's going to try to protect the hole. Yeah, we've got players in here, but there's seams or soft spots. So, we're going to be here. We see that it's passed. We're going to open, and we're going to stay right at that 5-yard spot we align, and we're not going to let that guy get in us. Now, if he breaks it shallow, that's fine. Let him go. No cover zone under 5. We'll let them run that all day long. But once he gets to 5 yards, we're going to square him up, and we're going to protect the hole. We're not going to let him run this dig in the middle and hit that soft spot. So we're going to be physical, make him run through our body. If he does keep going vertical, we want hands on, and we're going to zone, turn, and sink. Okay? So a route like this, we should hopefully make him belly. All right? Belly out. It's not going to be maybe the jam you get in a cover 3 where you stick that guy. All right? But you want your hands on, at least affect the route a little bit. But then we should sink under that window. All right? That way, that safety now, he can play that vertical pretty soft. All right? He doesn't have to worry about this window. He can be ready to trade this off. And because he knows the spur is going to be in that window right there playing that ball they might hit in the seam. So that's the spur's job on that. And we can get to the reads for the spur later where the rest is. But we know the Falcon now, once he sees this out here, he's now looking to pick up one. He's got his eyes. If he keeps going down the sideline, I got to go get it. All right, he opens to it, sees it coming to him. He picks it up. All right, if he has to speed turn, sometimes we'll start working that way. He's coming, we'll speed turn into it. It becomes a man technique now, all right? Like most quarters teams, is zone principles to start, but ends up being man technique once we get down to it. So even though I'm not necessarily a man guy, it's still the tightest coverage there is. And I like this because we don't have to be man from the get-go. But once we get the routes declared, we know who our guy is and we can lock him up. All right, so that would be his. Now the corner, obviously, he's the one. He's going to be running pretty hard with this guy because at this point he's got full set of steam. He's always got to stay on top because if they both go vertical, we know we got to be on top of both. So once this breaks here and our corner can come off, all right, and pick that up. There's no need to midpoint this deep one, right? Just go ahead and get it. All right, we know that, yeah, he might be ahead of steam. He might be coming off a little softer than if it was short. All right, but that's still a long throw, a long way to go, and we'll take that. If you didn't do that, if you kept it man after this point, the corner be running the post, and the Falcon have to drive on the out. Well, to me, that's even tougher on a safety having to drive on that deep out, being worried about the vertical. And your corner, we usually bail at outside leverage in this. All right, he's now going to drive over the top of the post. So to me, I got inside leverage. I can pick this up. I've got leverage. I can break on it. It might be a little later. I still feel like we're in a better advantage on that than if we were to just stay in the man concept. So that's how we play it. And then it doesn't change if we saw a scissors concept where they ran this, right? We would still, the Falcon's thinking, we would still do this where we cut it and come off with the corner. The Falcon's going to come off on that, so we're going to, trade these routes off. The only difference on this one is because it's not a true out, the Falcon, he thinks vertical. He's got a man because that's his rule. It's not a true out, so he's really not looking for one. The corner's got to talk, and we will cut this, all right? So the corner, once he's over top, he sees that post coming, but he's still got his eyes on 2. He sees 2 flagging, cut. Now the safety, as he's running with this flag, he's ready to speed turn if he needs to, pick it up. The corner's ready, already seeing it, picking it up. So we got to work on those 2 routes a lot because those are beaters. All right, if teams run it, we don't really see it as much as you might think, but we work on it, so we're ready for it. All right, so that's kind of our basics of blue. Read cover 2, how we do it. All right, the only thing I didn't cover, I guess, was a spur. So the spurs technique, we said wall on the 2 vertical. All right, 2 in that way, we let it go. All right, and we're looking to find that number 1 coming in. All right, so if he's shallow, I'll go ahead and find the zone. We know the flat's going to be covered. We know the falcon's deep. All right, he would be ready to drive on that double slant, something like that. All right, and then obviously any sort of out by 2, okay, he's looking to pick up the curl there. He knows he's a hook curl player. We know the corner's coming off in the flat. We can cover those zones, no different than most people. But it starts with that wall technique and making sure that whenever that 2 goes vertical, all right, that we're in that window and we're going to protect that window, not let him get that route. All right, yes, our safety will drive if it's over linebacker depth. All right, and he may be dropping, so it'll help us to see that, but we got to make it go really deep and wide so it's a slow developing route. Okay, so that's our call side. That's our blue. Okay, that's how we call it. And then our back side, we give a sky or cloud call. All right, so for this example, I'll use cloud. Okay, so when I call strong, we lined up blue. Call side is plain blue. Read cover 2. Our back side is cloud. All right, because we know we don't have the spur over here. We don't have that safety, that run support player and run. I didn't cover that. He's a force player. Right, they're both playing pass first. They're going to be late to the party. If we get cracked, he's got to replace. Okay, that's how we would solve that. But that's basically how we play run. It's the Spurs' job to run support. The other 2 will be late supporters. All right, over here, we could have one of these guys be more aggressive. One of these guys has got to be the guy that's going to set the edge because we don't have that spur. So if I call cloud, obviously it's a corner. All right, so now that we're in press, we are obviously playing this as hard cover 2, right? And we are going to squat, nose on his outside shoulder. Or we've actually gone tighter. We've gone nose to his eye to eye, sorry, inside eye to outside eye. So we've been in a position where we can be really physical, get our hands on him, all right? Okay, don't want to step and lunge, right? We want to keep our feet balanced, move. We do the mirror dodge drill, moving our feet lateral, let him commit, but keep that outside leverage. And then once he commits, we can be physical. And obviously we want to funnel him back inside on a pass release. If he tries to go outside, we should be, with leverage, force him to the sideline and take him out of bounds. If he does slip by us, we'll zone turn and sink like most people, with our eyes on a potential number 2. In this case, it'd be out of the backfield, number 2. But we shouldn't get an easy release outside. We got to help the safety. Everybody plays cover 2 knows that. All right, so that's how we play it. Obviously against run now, once we get in the man and we feel like, okay, he's not releasing for route, he's blocking me, I've got to get my eyes on and see where the ball is. All right, so if they get some sort of run scheme this way, we may get a fast flow, whatever it is. Even if it's off tackle or inside, they can be a cutback player. Hey, they get their eyes inside. A lot of times, if we get any sort of normal to wide split, we want to rip underneath and beat that guy there. All right, we obviously got to keep our leverage, but if he's got any sort of distance right there, that's a lot easier path to go. All right, we know if he's tight, real tight, nasty split, then we've got to stay outside, right? We can't get caught, can't get pinned, and that's always our rule is if you're going to go underneath, you got to be able to get back in place. If you don't think you can get there, you just stay outside. If all you do is just anchor it, hold your ground, and keep your leverage, turn that ball back inside, you've done your job. But we don't want him doing that way out here, keeping his outside and letting the big old lane go. So more often than not, we see run, all right? We are going to rip underneath, but get back to a forced position, all right? So typical cloud technique, obviously our bandit, he's in a shuffle read, all right? He's got no number 2 threat vertical, but he's a half player, all right? So we start 2 yards outside the hash. Obviously, if it's a wide split into the field, we can go up to 5, all right, get to where we need to be. But we are looking to get over top, obviously, number 1. We got to be the deep player here, knowing he's run support. We're checking trick pass, right? Any sort of run, he can trigger pretty quick. He's jamming in first, but he can trigger if he sees run. If he's wrong, he's only got flat. So he's not going to, we're not worried about him in full. We want him to be aggressive on the run. If it's him, obviously, any sort of run action, he doesn't take it. He's playing pass all the way. Anything coming down here, he's got to pick it up, all right? But we should have 2 for 1 on that side on any sort of pass, all right? And so that's how we'll play that. Obviously, run away. The corner's got to try to get to a cutback position. That's tougher, no doubt, all right? But that's how we'll play it. All right, now, if we get a wide split, all right, where the corner's way out there, all right? the first thing is our corners, every time that we line up, they give the split to the safety call. All right? They're saying wide, 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 normal, 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 tight, tight, tight. They're telling that every single play to the safety, because that might determine whether he changes the coverage or not. We also have adjustments here. If number 2 is really tight and he's really wide, we may check out of something. Or if 2 is really wide, we may check out of something. We've got a couple different coverages there. So that split matters. Over here, the same thing. If he's in a really wide split, we called cloud, wide, wide, wide. We know right now, cover 2, it got too far to go. He can't run support from there. We'll check sky, okay? So safety now, we know the call was cloud. He gets a wide, wide call from his corner. Hey, sky, 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 sky. That means he's now changed it to where it's safety run support. All right, so now he's a true quarter safety where we have him walking down on the snap, all right, getting about 8 to 10 yards. And obviously any run now, he's going to be our edge setter. He's going to support the run. If there was a 2 vertical, he would have him, all right? So in this case, there's not, all right? But that would be his job if there was a tight number 2. And the corner now knows in sky, he's now locked up, okay? We will lock him up, play man, all right? And we'll play, we're head up to start, but we'll be more of a shuffle technique, offhand jam, player man technique, but overplay the post, because obviously we don't have post help on a play action, okay? So into the boundary a lot of times will be in cloud because there's not much space here, all right? But in the middle of the field, depending on their split, we may be sky a lot, all right? So that's the basics. That's how we line up our front gap control defense. That's how we make our base coverage call, okay? Blue cloud could check the sky. Blue sky I could call. It could check the cloud if it was a tight split. A sky could check the cloud because we know they might crack our safety. We could go to cloud on that. But they have those rules, and they know on the backside, again, that's why we flip-flop our personnel. These two, that's all they work on is sky and cloud. These guys are working on blue and our other red coverage we run all the time, all right? Yes, we cross them over because of injuries and things like that, but we try to get them really good at where they're at. This is our boundary corner. He's more of our coverage guy because he's going to be more locked up, more chances. This guy is more of our read guy. He doesn't have to necessarily play single coverage man, but he has to read it and do those things. So hope you get something out of that. That's just our base defense, how we do our coverages. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it.